going on, YouTube? Happy Monday. Hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. Rdap Dan here to talk about stuff that you probably don't care about, like usual. No, I'm just kidding. Hope you guys all care about what we're talking about. Make sure before we get started, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, go ahead and tap on that bell notification up at the top. You can subscribe, get notifications. Also, do me that solid and text the word YouTube to 35074, and that puts you on an additional notification list. Lets you know when we're going to do time changes, if I'm going to be out of town, if we're running any special promotions. That is probably one of the best ways you will find out. And as you guys see, I released a video today. I got interviewed by a local news station here a couple weeks ago. They just ran it last night. So that was fun and entertaining for me. And it got a really good response. A bunch of really cool people have reached out to me. Just spoke to somebody literally seconds ago off of Facebook that's got a loved one getting ready to be released from the federal system after, I think it was 10 plus years, getting ready to hit the ground running, and she's got a ton of questions. So I'm going to give her a call back after this. And I definitely, if you're watching right now, definitely want to talk to you about the animal shelter that you're running, because that's amazing and I have a huge interest in that. So we will definitely chat. So guys, today we're talking a little bit about, we're going to have a Q&A session, and we're talking about like how much time is someone going to serve on a sentence, how does home confinement work, what are the Rdap qualifications, and we'll throw in a little bonus Q&A there on what's the difference between camps, lows, mediums, and pens. Apologize for coughing in your ear. So let's kick this thing off. Federal prison time with Rdap Dan. Hope you guys are here to stay. Lost my train of thought completely. It's been a crazy week, guys. I'm super excited. Going to be doing some stuff with After Prison Show this weekend, so prepping up for that. So just a lot going on. I've got community service that I got to do, and for my probation. And I've been putting it off because I've just been engulfed with, between clients, YouTube, everything else. I just putting it off, and it's got to be finished this month. So here I am preaching to you guys, get in your community service hours, and here I am slacking. I went down and started my community service today over at the Goodwill, and amazing people, but holy shit, what a torturous job. They had me color coordinating clothes on the rack, like from light to dark, from different sizes. Tedious, mind-numbing work that I would rather be digging ditches somewhere. What's up, Scott D? Dave Morton, welcome. John Goff, my man. Hope you guys are having a good week so far. All right, guys, so Q&A section, we're going to kick it off with how much time are you actually going to spend on your sentence? Now, obviously, there's a lot of variations that can change that. So let's run a scenario, a couple scenarios, but we're going to use... No, Juan Carlos, not yet, but they do have that. So I'm taking it you've been there. Billy Gomez on deck. What up, my man? So we're going to use, for the case for this, we're going to use, for an example, we're going to use 60 months, okay? So we're going to run different scenarios based on 60 months from worst case, or from best case to worst case scenarios. And I'm drinking iced coffee because I'm tired. I'm not used to doing community service. That's some like real work. I got so used to doing YouTube. I love this job. Do not like doing community service. Not going to lie. So on a 60-month sentence, how much time are you going to serve? All right, so first off, if you're going into the feds, 60 months, right off the rip, you want to go ahead and take away your good time, okay? So rule of thumb, and I know everybody will say it's not really that, it's not really this, but rule of thumb, 85% is how much time you're going to serve on your sentence. So on 60 months, if you're going to serve 85% of that, all you need to do is take your 60 months times 0.85, and that's going to tell you how many months you're going to serve. So we're doing this example on 60 months, if your time is not 60 months and you want to figure out your sentence, just use the same mathematical equation and you'll come up with an answer for your sentence. So 60 times 0.85 leaves us with 51 months, okay? So before anything else, before Rdap, halfway, before anything else, on 60 months, you're going to serve 51 months. So that's a decent amount of time taken off of your sentence on just automatically taken off for your good time. Now, let's say you are going to enter into the program. You're going to enter into prison, and you're going to qualify for the Residential Drug Addiction Program, RDAP. We all know if you get into RDAP with enough time remaining, more than 37 months on your sentence, you can qualify for the full 12 months off of the program. So we're going to go with the best case scenario. So you've got 51 months. This is after your good time is taken. So 51 months minus your 12 months of RDAP, that's going to bring you to 39 months, okay? So 39 months. So best case scenario with good time, with RDAP on a 60-month sentence before any halfway house time, you're looking at 39 months. You've already almost cut your sentence in half just with good time and RDAP alone. Now, RDAP is going to guarantee you 6 months federal halfway house, but in the best case scenario, you can actually qualify for up to 12 months of federal halfway house. So in this scenario, we're going best case with on a 39. So you have 39 months left after they've taken off your RDAP minus 12 months for halfway house. That brings you to 27 months that you're going to serve in federal prison. Not too bad. That is more than sliced your sentence in half. Requires you to do a lot of programming, requires you to stay out of trouble. That additional 6 months halfway house is not going to be a guarantee, not going to be a given. So even though you can program your ass off, you can take a million classes, parenting, reentry classes, there's no guarantee that they're going to give you the additional halfway house time. But just like there's no guarantee that the judge is going to reduce your sentence for doing community service, building a mentor network, maintaining a job, going to AA, NA, whatever it is. It can't hurt to put in the extra challenge and the extra work to stack the odds in your favor, right? So by taking all these extra programs, programming your ass off while you're in prison on top of RDAP and staying out of trouble cannot hurt your situation. You might have your case manager look at this and go, okay, this guy has done more than the average person. You need to stick out. You need to show yourself in a different light than the way he views everybody else. We all know if you're going to prison, that's not going to happen automatically. The minute you get there, you're already going to be labeled as somebody that's going to be sneaky. You're going to try to get over on them. You're going to complain about everything. Every time you have a question, they're going to go, oh God, here it comes. So you've got to pick and choose your battles, when you're going to fight for something, when you're going to let some shit go and let it slide. If the case manager's giving you problems in the beginning, let it go. Don't go writing reports on them. Don't contact his supervisor and say that he's not treating me fairly, because all it's going to do is these guys stick together. The BOP, upper management, all the way down to the case managers, to the COs, they stick together. Okay, they're not going to get your back. At least most of them aren't. So you got to pick and choose which battles you're willing to fight. Right now, all you're doing is trying to build a reputation in prison, both with the inmates and with the COs. You want to build a reputation with the COs that you're not going to give them any shit. If they say something to you or ask you to do or tell you to do something, and you feel like they're busting your balls, just do it. Get it out of the way. Just do it. If they tell you to do something stupid, just do it. Because once they realize that they can't affect you, they're going to leave you alone. They're going to go pick on somebody else so they can press their buttons. So let it go, let it go, let it go. Simple enough? Not really. Sounds simple, but it's not. All right, so in order to get that additional halfway house time, guys, you got to bust your ass. A, there's got to be room at the halfway house for you. And B, you got to get it approved. Camps are real reluctant to give out additional halfway house. So we've been fighting with a lot of case manager coordinators, with wardens, writing letters to judges, getting recommendations from judges that are actually stating we're recommending that you give this client 12. This is after he's been sentenced. This is when you're waiting to get your halfway house time. We write letters to the judge asking the judge to recommend additional halfway house to get you up to 12 months for the Second Chance Act. Just because the judge is recommending it doesn't mean you're going to get it, but all of these things work in your favor if it's done properly. If you got family and friends on the outside that's just writing letter after letter to senators and to presidents and to the warden like every other week, and he's a really good guy, you're probably just going to piss them off, and you're going to be on a list to whenever they see mail come in, they're going to go, oh God, he wrote us something again. What is it going to be this time? In their minds already like, we're not giving this guy a mother thing, because all he does is cause us stress and grief. So this is why you want to pick and choose your battles. If you're using me and you've hired me, please don't hire me and then go start writing your own letters and tell me after the fact, oh, we sent the judge a letter. It's like, okay, I have no idea what you sent. And when shit fails and doesn't work out, don't come pointing your finger at me saying I didn't do my job. Now, that hasn't happened yet, but I have had some clients that have been reaching out behind our backs. Sneaky, sneaky. So don't be sneaky. Let's let rdapdan and his crew run their magic. Let's try that first. Okay, so now we got the best case scenario on a 60-month sentence. RDAP, halfway house, good time, all of that stuff brings you to 27 months. Those of you that are posting comments right now, I will come back and answer them in a few minutes. I just want to get through this while this energy's flowing. Well, the coffee's flowing. I'm not going to lie. It's not me. It's the coffee. So on 60 months, let's say you do not qualify for RDAP for whatever reason. You've got a gun enhancement, and we'll talk about guns in a minute because that's starting to become a gray area in RDAP. But let's say you actually got a gun. You like robbed a bank and you pointed a gun at the teller and you got 60 months. You're not going to get RDAP. Even if you get RDAP, you're not going to get the time off for the program, but you can get additional halfway house. Okay, so best case scenario, 60 months, take away your good time, leaves you with 51 months. Best case scenario at this point without RDAP is 12 months federal halfway house, which brings you down to 39 months. So best case scenario without the residential drug addiction program on a 60-month sentence is 39 months, which means you're not even guaranteed the 6 months at this point. You might only get 2 or 3 months halfway house. So you really got to be busting your ass programming, taking non-residential drug programs if you feel like, hey, you want to get additional halfway house, and you can't just throw the towel in and say, well, they're not going to give me RDAP, so I'm just going to sit here with my thumb up my ass and do absolutely nothing, and then when it comes time to get halfway house, beg for a halfway house. Guys, you got to work. Put in that work. Get your money. If you don't know what that means, you will when you go to prison. They use that term with everything. Working out, doing classes. It's called getting money because you don't get real money in prison. So that's the only kind of money you're going to get is fitness and education. Money. Okay, so now let's go to the average case. We went to the best case. We went to the second best case without RDAP. Now let's go to the average case scenario. This is for the guy that more than likely is not hiring anybody. He's going through the motions. He's got it all figured out. He's watched a couple videos, and he doesn't need anybody else's help to solve his problems. They talk about that in RDAP. If you've been to RDAP, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Those people that think they got it all figured out and they don't need any advice and they think they can just pull some stuff off the internet and magically produce it and make it work. You can, but you're really taking some chances. You're a gambler. You might need to take GA, Gamblers Anonymous, if you're going down that road. That wasn't scripted, I promise. That's off the fly. All right, so 60 months, this is the average case. This is the average Joe, or the average RDAP, Dan. 60 months minus your good time, 85% is what you're going to do. 51 months. Typically, they're probably going to give you 3 months halfway house. So on a 60-month sentence, with somebody that's just kind of going through the motions, not working for it, probably going to serve about 48 months on a 60-month sentence. Doesn't sound nearly as good as the 27 months or the 39 months. It's even in the middle case scenario, it's a difference of a year. That's a big difference, guys, and this is what happens. People get complacent in prison. They listen to Inmate.com, where all the other inmates are saying, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you program. They don't give anybody any additional halfway house. So you hear this, and you hear this common denominator going around the compound that this compound doesn't give out extra halfway house. Well, how often have we heard that personal narratives, character reference letters don't matter at sentencing? We hear it from attorneys. We've got clients that have their attorneys that will not submit personal narratives because it reads so different from every other narrative they read, it scares them. And the one thing attorneys don't like is to be out of control a little bit, to not have control of the driver's seat. Ultimately, your attorney is there to advise you, give you the best advice possible that they're able to give. But we've taken them out of their element to where we're now putting together personal narratives that are so different from what they're used to seeing. But we're seeing the proof in the effectiveness of it. And that's the golden ticket. So the same thing applies when you're going through these motions in prison and you're listening to everybody else. Stop fucking listening to everybody and stick to your plan. You guys have a plan, stick to it. You've got short-term goals to reach long-term goals, and the minute you start switching it up halfway through, thinking, well, I'm going to shift gears, and I'm going to do this now, and I'm going to do this now, by the time you get there, you haven't actually accomplished anything except ran in 6 million different directions. Stick to a plan and hope that it works. Expect the worst, hope for the best, but look at priors. Look at people that have gone through this. Look at my situation. Everybody told me I wasn't going to get that kind of halfway house. Everybody told me I wasn't going to get into Rdap. When I told people when I got to prison and I started running my calculation within my first week, did all the numbers, got it all figured out, and said, I can be out of here in 13 months. They all looked at me like I have 3 heads. They're like, you're not going to get into Rdap. These are just haters. You're not going to get into Rdap. And if you do get into Rdap, you'll be lucky to get the 6 months halfway house. I was like, no. I'm not, you might be right, but I'm not going to go down without swinging. I swung the entire time, and I got out in 13 months, guys. I did a 42-month sentence in 13. Yes, I had to do 11 months in the treacherous halfway house, but I was eating real food, wearing real clothes, going to work every day, making real money, supporting my family again, and building this YouTube community, which would not have happened if I didn't have 11 months of halfway house. It just wouldn't have happened. So everything has happened for a reason. If you're not willing to work for it, you're not going to get the result, and you're going to blame it on circumstances. You're going to blame it on people. You're going to blame it on the prison. You're going to blame it on me. I don't know. You're going to blame it on somebody because you're going right back to that shitty card that's been in your pocket the whole time, that victim card that you've allowed yourself to maintain in order to be able to deal with the fact that you fucked up so bad so many times and you haven't changed your habits yet. If you really take a deep look at yourself, it's hard to look at, and you may not be ready to deal with that painful feeling. So deal with that painful feeling now. Don't wait till you get to prison halfway through it and then decide you want to start processing. Process right now and get yourself into a new habit where you're doing things that are uncomfortable. I did not want to go to community service today. Did not want to go. Hated it. I got to go every day now. I got to go every day this week and a couple of days next week in order to get my hours done in time so I can hope. There's no guarantee. Again, there's no guarantee they're going to give me early termination on my probation. I've got 3 years probation. I've almost got a year in, and I feel like if I have my my community service completely finished before my year is up, I feel there is a good chance that my probation officer will request the courts to eliminate my probation based on performance. Now, there's no guarantee to that, but I'm going to hustle my ass off as if there were. Because what do I have to lose? I got to do the probation one way or another, right? So the whole thing is mentality. You got to change your entire life in order to get things done, to get what you want to get done. I should have started this earlier, but I made excuses. All right, so we've got some basic comprehension on how much time you're going to serve. So whatever your amount of time is, before you deduct Rdap or halfway house, first you deduct your good time. Then you deduct Rdap and halfway house or just halfway house, depending on your situation. If you're unclear on that, do me a favor. Send me an email, rdapdan@gmail.com. It's right here on the top of your screen. Right there, you've got my email, you've got my phone number, you can text me. I highly suggest if you're in a position and you're getting ready to go to prison and you've got questions and you're unsure, if you have the ability to take me on, to add you to part of our team, it will benefit you tenfold. But you got to make that leap of faith. Talk to some clients that have been with me for a while, listen to what they got to say. It's all good. It's all good. All right, so moving on. Got notes today, ladies and gentlemen. Home confinement. Kind of jumping right into home confinement. Everybody wants to know, how does home confinement work? Real quick, Juan Carlos, I did not have a fine. So if you're trying to get off probation early and you've got fines and restitution, that can play a factor in it. It's not a dead giveaway no. If you're trying to show attempts at, let's say you owe $3 million in fines and you know, fuck, I'm never going to be able to pay that back. Start paying something. Show progress and initiative that you're trying to pay towards it, what you can. So when you do get a year under probation, you can still, because even when you're off probation, you still owe that restitution. So by them terminating your probation doesn't take it away from you. Doesn't mean you don't owe it anymore. or that it goes away. So just keep that in mind. All right, so now we're talking about home confinement. How does home confinement work? I know a lot of you know because you've watched my videos, but we're going to go over it again because I get the question all the time. Home confinement. All right. 10% of your sentence. Okay, so again, you're sentenced to 60 months. Don't take away any good time. Don't do any mathematical equations. Just go off of your sentence. Has nothing to do with how much time you actually serve in prison. Just has to do with the sentence that is imposed. Rule of thumb, you can do up to 10% of your sentence on home confinement. So we're using 60 months. Let's play with the 60 months. 60 months times 10% is 6 months. So let's say you're given a year halfway house. And in that scenario, the best case scenario on the first part of this, where how much time you're going to serve. So the best case scenario, year off for RDAP, a year halfway house. Best case scenario, during that year of halfway house, you're going to serve 6 months of that in the halfway house, a minimum of 6 months in the halfway house, and then 6 months on home confinement, best case scenario. Now, just because you can get up to 10% of home confinement does not mean they have to give it to you or that you will get it. There's other factors that play into that. How you've conducted yourself in the halfway house, where you live, how far you will live away from the halfway house. Because you still have to go back and check into the halfway house. When you're on home confinement, you're still under their jurisdiction to where if you got to do random P tests or check-ins, you still have to come back to that halfway house. There are some other options that we can talk about if you're curious. You can shoot me an email. And we can talk about that. But rule of thumb is you can serve up to 10% of your sentence on home confinement. So let's say, again, on 60 months, let's say you only receive 6 months halfway house. Okay, technically, you could do that whole 6 months of halfway house on home confinement. It's not likely. Usually, in a best case scenario like that, if you got sentenced to 60 months and you were given 6 months of halfway house, usually you're going to serve a month or two at the halfway house. Then they got to go out and verify your address. They want to make sure that you're following the rules. Then they'll send you home. So even though you can get up to 10%, you might end up only getting like 5, 7, 8%. Now, if you go through the average case scenario that we spoke about in the beginning, where you don't hire anybody, you're just going through, you think you got it all figured out, you're not doing anything extra, you're just going through the motions, you got sentenced to 60 months, your case manager puts you in for 3 months, and you get 3 months of halfway house. Well, you could do that whole 3 months on home confinement. But again, like I said, it's not likely. You're probably going to go to the halfway house for at least 30 days, 45 days. Then they'll send you home to home confinement. So you might get a month, month and a half on home confinement. So these are the different ways that home confinement works. We'll do a different video on halfway house, on what goes on in the halfway house, because I know a lot of you got questions on that. If you've got questions about the halfway house, I'd really like to know what they are. So either email them to me, or when this video is done, right now you can't post comments, I don't believe, but when the video is done and it renders and it saves, then you can log in and post comments on this video down below. So make sure you go in there and post comments. Let me know what you liked about this video. Also post comments on things that you'd like to know about other upcoming videos. Halfway house, maybe. All right, so everybody understand? 10% is not guaranteed. It's just up to 10% is how much you're allowed. There's no guarantee that you're going to get 10%. They don't have to give you 10%. They can say, we're not giving you any because we don't like the way you chew your food. They can make up any reason they want, and you're at their beck and call because it's not a guaranteed thing. Okay, 10%. All right. So, RDAP. Let's talk a little bit about RDAP, Residential Drug Addiction Program. What does that really entail? Okay, RDAP. Let's talk about how you qualify for RDAP first off. The biggest thing, and there's other factors, we'll talk about those in a second, but the biggest thing to qualify for RDAP, make sure you're paying attention to this, because this is knowledge right here. This is shit that people pay me for, and this is what other prison consultants hate that I do, what I'm about to do right now. I'm about to tell you the magic recipe for free, because I know not everybody can afford me, even though I'm the cheapest guy in the neighborhood, and I give the best product, and I got the best product. That sounds really bad. If my probation officer's watching, I'm talking about services, not talking about drugs. All right, so qualifying for RDAP, here's the secret. You have to have verifiable substance abuse, whether it be drugs, alcohol, pain medication, pharmaceutical, basically anything, even if it's a pill and you were prescribed it. Let's say you were prescribed Xanax, or let's say you were prescribed oxycodone or roxicodone or Percocets. If you feel like you're abusing them, during your PSR interview, they're going to ask you about your substance abuse history. When did you first start? How long have you been using? When did you stop? 12 months prior to your indictment is the magic time frame. So if you got arrested a year ago and you're just now finally doing your PSR, you don't do your PSR until after you either plead guilty or you're found guilty. Some of you know how long these cases go on for. So let's say that your case is a year or 2 years in. You've got to remember the time frame and tell them, well, I was using during whatever dates that you got arrested, indicted, 12 months from then back. Anything before that 12 months and anything after that 12 months doesn't mean shit. So after you got indicted, you could accrue this giant anxiety, nightmare, freaking out all the time, and started using drugs heavy or drinking heavily. That is not going to help you get into the residential drug addiction program because it happened after your indictment. So be very clear how you're specifying that to U.S. probation. Even with what we've seen specified to U.S. probation, we've seen their reports come back very unclear, almost to the point where it's like, does this U.S. probation officer have something against you? This is why we've teamed up with a drug specialist, Irving Shatner out of Delray Beach, who will write an actual professional opinion based on the interview that he has with you that gets entered into your PSR, stating that he recommends that you actually enter into the residential drug addiction program. He knows how the program works. He knows the date frames that are important. He knows how to word it. This is what he's been doing for 20 plus years. He's an amazing asset to the team. He costs money. It's an additional $1,500. Just gonna throw that out there. But peace of mind, what's it worth? You're spending high tens of thousands of dollars on attorneys, if not low to mid to high six figures. What's an extra, $2-3 grand gonna do if it means you getting into prison and getting out sooner, back to your family, start providing? So clients always tell me, oh, we can't afford it. And it's like, you might not think you can afford it, but I don't know if you can afford not to do these programs, not afford to take advantage of these types of services. People just don't put enough pressure on themselves to make it happen. They think they're going to just, walk through it blindly and get lucky. It's not impossible, just doesn't happen. It's only money, Mike. Can't take it with you. Some people might. All right, so Rdap qualifications, biggest rule of thumb. Whatever you're stating into your PSR during your substance abuse, drinking alcohol on a regular basis. When did you start? I started when I was 18. When did you stop? I stopped when I was 24. But you didn't get indicted till you were 26. So that's going to kick you out of the program, guys. So if you're unclear about how that works with getting into the residential drug addiction program and what needs to be stated in your PSR, reach out to me because we got you covered. We know this stuff. We're not going to coach you to lie, but we're gonna pull it out of you to make sure that you're not just Mickey Mousing this and you think you've got it figured out and you don't. We've read some PSRs. Mike will tell you. Mike knew what to say. Mike knew what to say during his PSR interview, and his PSR came back still a little bit. It's not the worst PSR we've seen by far, but it's definitely not the best either. But it should have been way more clear with what Mike knew going into it. So I'm just saying that some of these probation officers run rogue and they do what they want to do, and there's nothing you can really do about that except bitch and complain. So other factors, violent crimes. If you use a gun in a crime, so you're arrested, you point a gun at somebody, you're robbing a bank, you've got a gun in your hand, that is different than them coming into your house when they raid you, finding drugs, and then also finding a gun. Gun was not used in the crime. If you are allowed to have, now if you're a felon with that gun, that can create new issues. But if you're not a convicted felon and you're allowed to have a gun, you had a gun permit or whatever, and they found the gun, that is not necessarily going to kick you out of the program. Some RDAP coordinators still read it differently, and unfortunately, it's not black and white throughout the entire BOP. It should be, but it's not. Some coordinators are like, oh, you got a gun charge, we can't let you in. You got a gun enhancement, we can't let you in. But it wasn't used. It didn't make it a violent crime. So you've just got to realize that, stupid fly. You just got to realize that that is what it is, and we're going to do our best to work with that situation as well. So gun enhancements. Now, pornography charges. If you have pornography charges, but nothing hands-on, just pictures. Not advocating it, not saying it's okay, but man, people out there make really bad mistakes every day, and we have to look at this. I made some videos in the past I'm not proud of. I had different views in the past prior to understanding the addiction with child pornography the way that I understand it now from some of the clients that I've taken on. So with that said, if you have a child pornography charge for pictures, you can get into RDAP and you can get the time off. The big factor there is the halfway house that you're going to go to. Do they accept child pornography cases? Not all halfway houses do. So if you're going to be releasing to an address of a halfway house that does not allow child pornography cases, you cannot take RDAP, because part of the Rdap qualification is mandatory 6 months halfway house, because you have to continue your Rdap in the halfway house. Okay, so now if you're going to a halfway house that does accept child pornography cases, then you're good. So the best thing to do before you go, if you know you're going back to your house or your parents' house or wherever, find out the halfway house that's in your area. If you don't know, we can help you out. We can find out if they accept. A lot of co-ed ones do not take child pornography cases because women. It's just, I don't understand it, but it is what it is. So we need to find out. Maybe you have to relocate, change your address while you're in prison to get a release address to a halfway house that does accept sex offenders for child pornography. Now, if you're hands-on, you kidnapped a child, or you took a child across state lines, or you've actually got a child, in your house and you're taking pictures of them, that's different. That is going to disqualify you from RDAP. We can still help you with additional halfway house. We can still help you with problem solving and getting you through this so you can understand. So when you get out, you can make better decisions in the future, so this addiction doesn't repeat itself. Make sure you're getting the help that you need. Put you in touch with therapeutic type communities that specialize in sex addictions when it comes to underage child porn. It's a huge, right now it's probably the #1 charge that people are receiving, because the amount of child pornography that is being viewed and downloaded in the masses, and so much of it is being put out by the federal government to try to catch somebody. So they are manifesting this child porn to catch you, which is kind of shady in itself. It's like they're sitting there all day looking at child porn, and you don't know what their mind frames are, or any of these police officers or whoever's managing it, are any of them actually getting off on it. So we have to really look at this objectively, guys, regardless of what your views and opinions of sex offenders for underage child pornography. I'm not here to debate, tell you you can't think that way or you shouldn't think that way, but I'm telling you that it's an addiction, it's compulsive, and if it's not dealt with, they get re-released, they recommit, and it's just a vicious cycle. People out there have children and they immediately go, well, I've got children, I don't want it. Okay, if you care about it that much and you don't want them viewing your own children, then be a part of the solution, not part of the problem, so they get the help that they need, so next time it's not your child that's getting exposed. So your child doesn't become a victim to this type of a crime. It's got to be helped. It's got to be dealt with. So what else do we got here? The gun charges, iffy. We already spoke about that. So you guys should have a pretty good understanding on RDAP. Last but not least, we're going to talk a little bit about camps, lows, mediums, and pens. Now, I've never been to a medium. I've never been to a pen. So I can't give you firsthand experience. I can only give you experience from what I've learned from other people. Billy Gomez, if he's in the room right now, he spent time at the higher securities. He knows what it's all about. He knows the violent nature that can take place there, that carries with you years after you've been released from prison. That would probably be a big portion of why Billy's outlook on life and my outlook on life, even though we've got common goals, we want to succeed and progress, you can see where he's still reserved to where I'm like, la-di-da, because I was at a place that wasn't violent. You know, I didn't see, this fly is just insane. Go away, fly. That's what happens when you leave the patio door open too long. I don't like to kill animals. I'm not even going to kill the fly. I'd rather just swat at them. All right, so camp. Camp is as low custody as you can go. There's no fence. You can have cool jobs there. Like if you've got a valid driver's license, you can actually become a town driver, which means you drive other inmates to like doctor's appointments, airports when they're getting released, things like that. You can have out custody jobs where you go off the compound and you clean up around different areas. You know, it's just your custody level is very, very low. So they're not super worried that you're going to, you know, run or disappear because of how low your custody level is. Whereas a low, now you go from a camp to a low, you've got a perimeter fence around a low. You're not going to be a town driver at a low. You're not going to get a job off the compound. The only way you're leaving that compound is either A, you got released, B, you're getting transferred, or you're going out to a medical visit, and you're going to be, the only time you're not going to be shackled and handcuffed is if you're getting released. If you're going anywhere else, medical, transferred, man, you are going to be shackled up. Ankles, hands, hips, all connected together, so you can't run, you can't go anywhere, and you'll probably be shackled to a chain gang. Probably going to be 5 or 6 deep at least, so nobody's going nowhere. I had to go out on a medical visit, did not like it at all. Had to go get a biopsy done on my back. There was a mole there that they were suspicious of, and it was the worst experience ever because they take you to a regular doctor, which is cool. You're getting to go out in regular public, but you're completely looking like a prison inmate. You're handcuffed up. You're sitting in a waiting room with people looking at you like regular people are just sitting there staring at you. And in their mind, oh my God, you got 2 U.S. Marshals sitting on both sides of you. And the whole time in the car, U.S. Marshals are joking with you. They're showing you videos on the phone. But now they're in professional mode and they're sitting there quiet like Secret Service agents or something. And you just feel like the biggest, lowest scumbag on the earth, the way these people are looking at you. So I did not enjoy it at all. As a matter of fact, I was supposed to go back for a second biopsy and I refused. I said, nope, I'm going to wait till I get out. I've only got like 3 more months. I'll get out, go take care of it, because I do not want to go through that humiliation again. Did not like it one single bit. So a low perimeter fence, a lot more inmates typically. Violent nature isn't really there at a low for most lows. Some lows, like I can't think of the name right now, over in we've got a client that's over at it'll come to me in a minute, Yazoo. Over in Yazoo, the low in Yazoo, from what I'm hearing, is run just like a damn medium or a pen. Locked down all the time, fights all the time, politics constantly, just scary stuff. Doesn't typically happen in lows. The low I was at was half-mile track, tennis, volleyball, basketball, football, bocce ball, handball, kickball. I mean, we had every sport you could imagine with the actual fields. We had 2 full featured softball fields with the clay fields, the fence behind it, the bases. I mean, they'd go out there every week and they would make that thing so pretty. They'd rake the clay, cut the grass. I mean, it looked like a high school baseball field. So it was really kind of neat. A lot of classes you can take, educational classes, fitness classes, inmate ran classes for like business, extra learning, trucking classes, investment classes. So you can really go into prison and get your mind right if you want to. Now, mediums and pens, they have a lot of those same type of classes, but mediums and pens are more politically ran, meaning whites and blacks can't necessarily hang out together. Spanish, you're not really race mixing too much. It might be approved here and there, but there's definitely a lot more violence. There's a lot more gangs going on. If you have a 5K1 or you're cooperating and you go to you go to a medium or a pen, they're going to demand your paperwork. You're going to have to get it at some point and show it to them. And if they see that you got a 5K1 on there or you're cooperating with the government on a different case, you're going to be viewed as basically a rat, is what they're going to view you as a snitch. And either you're not going to be able to, you're going to have to stay in your room. You're going to have to pay to be able to stay in your room. You're going You have to pay them money, inmates, or you're going to check into the SHU until you get relocated somewhere else. Whereas at a low or a camp, if you got 5K1s, cooperation, none of that matters. A lot of guys there have it, but it's just accepted there. It's just the way it is. Sex offenders, child pornography cases cannot go to a camp. So if they're camp eligible based on their points, they're going to go to a low. And if their points are high enough and their case was severe enough, they could actually go to a medium. Now, a sex offender in a medium is not going to fare very well, or in a pen. Sex offenders in mediums and pens are definitely looked at very poorly, and they're going to have a very, very rough time in prison. The low that I was at was 3,000 inmates, and about half of them were sex offenders. Took me a long time to adjust to that just because I wasn't used to it. And you just realize how many people are struggling with that addiction, and prisons do not deal with it. Prisons don't put out a lot of programs to help. They might talk about programs they have, but what sex offender wants to go volunteer and get into a class where it's like, you know, everybody in that class is a sex offender? So they keep a low profile. At least they try to. It's not a crime that I would want to have to deal with in prison at all. I saw these guys dealing with it, and it just looked like a living hell. All right, so we've covered a few things here. We've covered how much time you're going to serve. We've covered how home confinement works. We've covered how RDAP works. And we've covered a little bit of difference between the camps, lows, mediums, and pens. So hopefully this gives you guys some insight as what to look forward to when you go to federal prison, what you can be doing to prepare right now. If you're getting ready to go to federal prison and you have not done your PSR yet, your pre-sentence report, I'm telling you, if you have the ability to hire a prison consultant, take advantage of it, guys, because it could be the best move you've ever made in your entire life. We deal with things that the attorneys don't understand. Even if you don't have the best attorney in the world, with a good prison consultant, that can be a dream team. You just don't know it yet because this is new territory to you. So do what you got to do. Get a prison consultant on your team. I make my services very affordable. We take care of everything from RDAP preparation, making sure you're prepared for your PSR interview, making sure your personal narratives are done right, making sure we're one of the only prison consultants that actually also does your character reference letters for your friends and family. We take those, make edits and recommendations to make sure they're properly done as well, because that is another huge aspect. Making sure you're ready for RDAP, making sure you know what your first few days of prison are going to be like. But most importantly, the one thing that we go above and beyond that nobody else really handles is anxiety and coaching. Through your entire process from now until you're out of prison, we're going to make sure that we help you find ways to cope with the anxiety and the fear. We can't get rid of it. We can't make it go away because part of it's going to be there, but we're going to make sure it doesn't build up and boil over to where it's affecting you in a negative every day where it's not allowing you to do things. We're going to make sure you're out there putting in community service. We're going to make sure you're building a mentor network. Juan Carlos, you've been amazing with your mentor network. We've been getting your emails every week, and that's what every client should be doing. I know it feels like, why am I doing this? Who's actually reading this? But I'm telling you, brother, at sentencing, these things make a huge difference when you're standing in front of the judge and you're looking completely foreign to the judge. The judge is like, look at this guy. Who is he, and how has he done all of these things? Does he have an S underneath that shirt? Because he might be Superman who committed some crimes. With the amount of effort and work that some of you guys are putting in, it makes tremendous difference at sentencing. We've seen it happen with so many clients. You guys have watched videos of success stories of clients that should have gotten slaughtered and did not because of how much work and effort they put into it. So we can't work harder than you. We can provide you with tools, techniques, a roadmap to success, but you got to be willing to follow it and do the work. And if you are, fucking A, we're the right team. I'm your guy, and you're my guy or lady. Well, guys, I'm Rdap Dan, proud owner of Federal Prison Time, LLC. I hope this video was informational to you guys, and I hope you took something from it. Make notes, email me, text me, ask me questions, and most importantly, if you don't have a prison consultant and you're going to prison, I'm your guy. Get a hold of me. You guys got any questions before I let you go? Did I miss anything? Will Power, what's up? Me and Will, we got to do a video, my man. This week's real rough for me. doing community service. I'm prepping for a video that I'm going to be doing with Joe this week, which I'm very excited about, in case you guys can't tell. Robert, hey Dan, you still the man. Thanks for all you do. Most people just want to dump on people. What's up, Robert? Appreciate that, my man. It's always great to hear, positive praise here and there. I'll take some more. It makes me feel mentally better too. It does not help. I won't worry if I could have. All right, guys. Well, if you need anything else, please send me an email. Let me know what's going on. I'm here to help everybody that I can. I'm Rdap Dan. I love every single one of you. Community is method. People helping people one day at a time. Have a fantastic week. See you all Wednesday. Peace.